Okay, it is already Friday, and this week was actually very exciting. I hope you guys had a good week, and I wasn't expecting this week to be as eventful as it was, seeing as we're in the later August months, as I've been saying for the last few weeks. But this week was actually really exciting. It was exciting for me. Depending on where you are in the world, it may not have been as exciting, like if you're in New Zealand or Australia with the lockdown news. But that news, if you haven't been following, really shook the New Zealand and the Aussie dollar, which became really weak as a result. So I had a bunch of trades that triggered, and on top of that, the stock market has been pretty bipolar lately, going up, going down, and people don't really know what to expect as we head into the later months this year. So we're going to look at all of those things, but I do want you guys to keep in mind that when it comes to this kind of trading environment, it's really risk sentiment all the way that you want to be thinking about and focusing on. So I had a bunch of trades trigger, a few more than usual, and some of them worked out, and a couple others were losses just with the crazy volatility in the New Zealand dollar. So we're gonna hop into the charts and I'll show you those things. There was a trade that missed, which in hindsight, maybe my penny should have been a little bit higher. But overall, I ended the week just slightly positive. So it was a good learning opportunity. I hope you guys were able to keep your accounts running and to stay in the game. So we're gonna go over all of those things. I did make a post a few days ago saying that I'm gonna be sharing a 4-part series on how I passed 4 FTMO challenges in September. So keep your eyes out for that. In these videos, we go over somewhat briefly the trades that I took, but it's really a tool for you guys to hop into the charts and do the work yourself to see what I've been looking at. But in those videos, we're gonna be going in more depth. So stay tuned for those. And with all of that being said, I won't waste any of your time. We'll hop right into the charts. Okay, so as I mentioned, there was a few things that happened this week. So I'm going to go over 4 pairs that were the most exciting, which is EA-EN, GA, and GN. So we're gonna go through all of those together and we'll see what happened. So starting off here, we have EURAUD. And as you can see, we have this sell area here, which looks like it was a huge loss, but it was actually a win. I just grabbed 30 pips on it. And this buy here was from last week. So of course I didn't hold that buy. I closed it at 30 pips because it was moving really slow. But as you can see, that trade was the low that the market hit before making this new high. So in hindsight, I should have kept a runner, but very good learning opportunity there. Now, as for this sell, it was a weekly 61 fib. It was a round number at 1.62, and it was a key level. Now, the reason why it was higher risk, and I did consider canceling it, is because we came so close to hitting 1.62 right around here before dropping a little bit, and it was really close to this key level. So it was kind of risky in that sense that a move happened just prior to it, but my pending was triggered late Wednesday night before this move happened, and my pending was right at the bottom of the box, and this wick here that you can see was more than 30 pips, and I closed my TP. So I was a little bit lucky in that sense that if I had my pending a little bit higher, it would have missed and then I would have gotten stopped out. But this candle right here did a 30 pips. So I had it for those 3 confluences, and it was rather risky, especially with how weak the Aussie dollar has been lately. But that is one of the trades that happened this week, and it worked out okay. I'm looking out at 1.64 and 1.6418. It is a higher time frame level, so you guys can check that out on your chart and we'll see if that hits. Now we're going to look at GA, and GA has been really interesting. So I had my pending hit overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning, which was a sell at 1.91. Now I had a notification hit late Wednesday evening that we had broken through 1.90, and I wasn't expecting 1.91 to hit so soon, but with the volatility of the Aussie, I wanted to have my pending in place, and it did hit. My stop loss was 50 pips, which I'm very happy it was because the drawdown was just over 30 pips, so I would have gotten stopped out otherwise. But I want to show you guys the confluences for why I took this trade. So we'll get rid of this fib. Now it was a weekly, a 50 fib, a key level, a round number at 1.91, and it was a monthly 200 EMA. So lots of strong confluences. If we hop on the monthly, you can see that we hit this moving average on the monthly absolutely perfectly to the wick, and we've dropped. So that was clear. I didn't want to miss out on that. It was a key level, which will be a little bit easier to see on the weekly. You can see right here with these wicks here, these as well, and then if we pull over, very clean over here and here as well. So that was the key level. And in terms of the fib, it was a fib from this high to this low. And so it was just above, my pending was just above the 50 fib. If we draw it from here, however, it was perfect. So it depends on how you draw it. It can get a little bit tricky with weekly fibs, but that is that. So I'm really happy that I took this trade. In terms of how it worked out, I took partial profits at 25 pips because it was moving rather slow. If I show you on the 4 hour, we had a lot of 1 hour candles that printed around here, and I should have just left it, but it did come back up to break even, and now it would have done the full 50 pips TP. So in hindsight, it's still something that I'm working on. Like I always say, I'm not an expert. I feel like sometimes you're best off just leaving your stop loss and your take profit and just letting it hit. But I did close a very small portion of my position at plus 25 pips, and then the rest closed out at break even. So that was a little bit disappointing, especially as it did go on to do 50 pips. And I feel like with those higher time frame trades, you just have to give it room to breathe. So it wasn't a loss, it wasn't a big winner, but it was a good learning opportunity. So check that one out if you weren't watching GA this week. And we're getting a little bit of a pullback, so we'll see if 1.90 gives us any pips. It lines up perfectly with a 38 fib, so keep an eye out on that. Now we're going to go over to EN, which has been very interesting as well. I took a loss on the EN sell right here. We did about, if we pull out the calculator, we did about 50 pips of drawdown, and my stop loss was only 30 pips. So I got stopped out there. It was a third touch that hit much sooner than expected. So it happened overnight, so I should have moved my stop loss. But with the New Zealand news that we spoke about, with COVID cases rising, we've seen a really weak Kiwi as a result. So I took the loss there. On top of the third touch, it was a weekly 200 EMA, but it was right here. And it turned out to work. The trade did work if I had a wide enough stop loss. So something to keep in mind when there's that volatile news to open the stop loss. So hope you guys see that one there. In terms of the buy that we have right here, we hop onto the 4 hour. As you can see, it happened really quick. It was a 38 fib and the daily EMAs and the round number at 1.69. So we had the fib from this low to that high. So you can see that one worked out well. That one gave 30 pips and 50 pips full TP. So break even on this pair for this week on EN. Losses do happen, but that win was nice. Now we're just gonna hop over to GN as well. Now, GN was probably the most frustrating pair of the week for me because we had this beautiful buy setup right here. And if you hear any background noise, apologies, I am running laundry. So this buy here bounced off of the 50 fib, and I wanted to get in at the 61 fib with all of these moving averages, and it was just below 1.98. And in hindsight, maybe I should have had my pending at 1.98 and had a wider stop, but it just missed my pending and it went up to do a good amount of pips. So that one was a little bit disappointing that it missed, but it is what it is, and that is that for this week. So if we were to round up all of the trades, it was slightly positive. On EN, we were break even, and then I had the sell on GA, which was a small profit trade. I made a little bit of money, and then we had that kind of lucky sell on EA. So it was a positive week. Definitely learned some good things in terms of just letting the trades play out, giving them a little bit more breathing room when they're higher time frame trade, and staying up to date on the news, especially when there's volatile things happening. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now, and risk sentiment is really driving the market. So you guys should really stay up to date on that. I hope you guys had a good week. We covered a lot of different setups here. So I encourage you to go over it again and chart all of these things up for yourself. Like I mentioned in the post that I made a couple of days ago, in September, I'm going to be posting 4 videos showing you the exact strategy that I've used the past 4 FTMO challenges. And the trading, as you guys have seen if you've been watching these videos, is rather simple and straightforward. It's simple, it's not easy, but it is simple. And so I'm going to show you guys exactly how I come up with these zones in a little bit more depth, how I execute my trades, risk management, and all of those good things. So I do encourage you to watch this over again, watch some of my older ones to kind of get a sense as to how I trade and create these zones to get those good entries, but that is coming up, so stay tuned with that. If you made it this far, I appreciate it, guys. We're getting closer to September, so trading should start to pick up a little bit, but this week there was a lot of movement, which was nice. So I hope you guys had a good week. I'll see you in the next video as always, and until then, peace.